Tonight, the president is calling for poll watchers. We'll explain who is watching the polls in Colorado.
Unfortunately, not everybody can just show up and become a poll watcher.
Colorado's Secretary of State accuses a congressman of spreading lies about voting. He wants her investigated by the federal government.
Plus, a church's challenge to crowd size limits is shot down in court.
And it may be the best kept secret in metro real estate.
I'm tracking these price reductions for my clients right now in 80202 because there's some pretty sweet deals.
As home prices soar, we'll show you where you can still get a deal.
A record number of Coloradans applied to judge this year's election. It's not a glamorous job, but this year there are plenty of people who want to make sure that no one is cheating.
And the security of this year's election is a common talking point right now. Poll watchers will be a common sight on Election Day. The president, in fact, specifically asked people to watch over the voting process during last night's debate.
And tonight, Denver7's Lance Hernandez provides an inside look at the people whose job is to protect democracy.
President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully.
President Trump claims there have been problems in Philadelphia related to poll watchers.
They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch.
Unfortunately, not everybody can just show up and become a poll watcher.
Denver clerk and recorder Paul Lopez says poll watchers have to be certified in order to observe the process inside a vote center. Poll watchers are different than election judges, who do everything from issuing ballots to verifying signatures and answering the hotline.
You have to learn about cybersecurity, obviously election law and all of the changes.
Landscaping professional Sean MIDDLESWART has been serving as an election judge in Arapahoe County for 24 years.
I was never in the military and I felt like this was maybe a way to give back to my community.
Election judges are hired by the county and work in bipartisan teams. Poll watchers are appointed by political parties or issue committees to observe the process, to make sure rules are being followed.
They can stand behind election judges issuing ballots and observe who's voting, and they have the right to challenge a person's right to vote at an in-person site.
Have they ever tried to interfere?
Yes, I've done this since 1996, and on occasion I have had to have a couple of poll watchers removed.
The parties can replace poll watchers who are removed.
We just want to make sure that at the same time we're protecting everyone's right to vote and their right to vote privately at the same time as the integrity and transparency of the process.
Lance Hernandez, Denver7.
Changes are coming to presidential debates following last night's performance from President Trump and Joe Biden. The Commission on Presidential Debates says it would like to ensure a more orderly discussion. One possible change would be to allow moderators to mute the candidates. Well, ABC News sources say the candidates will not have input on any changes, also reporting tonight that the Trump campaign could pull out of the remaining debates if any changes are made.
And we know that among people who were watching TV last night, 2 out of 3 were watching the debate. It drew between a 67 and 69 share for every quarter hour. Experts with The Hollywood Reporter say this debate is likely to end up rating lower than the first debate between Trump and Clinton. And people who are worried about the security of their ballot can track it via text this year. Secretary of State Jenna Griswold announced earlier this month that Colorado is expanding its ballot tracks program. Anyone who opts in will get a text when their ballot is mailed and received.
Griswold's office is in a public spat with Congressman Ken Buck. Today, Buck asked U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr to investigate a voter registration postcard, which Buck says was an attempt to register dead people and non-citizens. Secretary of State Griswold says Buck is just trying to undermine faith in elections. She says these postcards have been sent out for decades, including when a Republican served as Secretary of State. And Denver7 is committed to covering this election and to making sure every vote is counted. That's why we've partnered with ProPublica, a nonprofit investigative news organization.
Their Election Land project tracks voting problems and election integrity here in Colorado and across the country. And here's where you can step in and help. If you experience or you witness any problems when casting your ballot, reach out. If you have any concerns, you can do so as well. Text the word VOTE to 81380 to sign up. You can also submit a tip on our website, thedenverchannel.com. Just click Election 2020.
The city teamed up with locally owned Raíces Brewery to create a beer encouraging people to vote. The owners of the brewery say it's not about political affiliation, it's about being heard.
I take very serious human relations and how we take decisions, which is ultimately what politics is grabbing information as much as you can and taking the best decision you can. So, yeah, very important personally.
The brewery will be selling its Vota Cream Ale during election-related events over the next month and a half.
Governor Jared Polis visited the command center for the Cameron Peak Fire in Larimer County today. This fire is the third largest in state history. 125,000 acres have burned. Almost 100 new fire personnel arrived to help with the firefight today. The goal is to get this fire contained and let it burn out. And right now, containment is at 22%. And this afternoon, officials in Jackson County, Colorado issued evacuation orders because of the Mullen Fire. This one affects people living along the border with Wyoming, north of the three-way with highways I-25 and 127. There are evacuation orders in place for some Wyoming residents as well.
A 12-year-old boy remains missing at this hour, nearly 24 hours after his disappearance was first reported in Livermore. The Larimer County Sheriff's Office says they have used drones and dogs and vehicles in the search for Hunter Denny, and nothing yet. So please do call authorities if you know anything. A 6-day volunteer search for evidence of the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew turned up largely empty. Morphew has not been seen now since Mother's Day. Hundreds of volunteers from Colorado and beyond traveled to Chaffee County to help with the search, which was organized by Morphew's brother. The Sheriff's Office says volunteer search crews found several pieces of, quote, possible evidence, but none of it directly connected to the Morphew case.
A judge denied a Colorado church's request to hold gatherings with more than 175 people Tuesday night. Today, Andrew Womack Ministries announced it will appeal. The church wants permission to hold large gatherings, calling Governor Polis's executive order a violation of freedom of speech and religion. Tuesday, a judge said large gatherings are dangerous, and she wrote, one event could cause the death of an untold number of innocent citizens.
Our state reported 511 new cases today, in line pretty much with the number of cases we've been reporting each day for the last couple of weeks. The slight spike right now could be attributed to several factors, including the Labor Day holiday and the reopening of schools. There are fewer than 300 people in hospital beds because of the virus. And we did see 2 fraternities from CSU and 2 fraternities from DU listed in this week's outbreak report. Now, students who attend those fraternities account for 12 new cases. In addition, 4 people who went to a social gathering at Metro State University in Denver are now sick. And this evening, DU announced the suspension of 38 swimming and diving athletes for violating COVID health orders and going to an off-campus party. The suspension will last for the rest of the fall quarter.
The rapid testing site at PEPSI Center closed earlier this evening. The testing site has been open since the end of May. And since then, more than 116,000 people have been tested. That's an average about 900 per day. The city of Denver is shifting its focus, setting up smaller sites at parks and schools and other locations. The city will also send a mobile testing unit to your home if you can't get to a facility. You can make an appointment by calling 311.
The average home price in Denver just hit $600,000 this month. Experts are calling this an extreme seller's market.
Of course, not all real estate sectors are experiencing the same boom, which could mean value for first-time buyers. Here is Denver7's Sean Toll.
Downtown Denver used to be so full of life before the COVID pandemic.
And so it's almost like a 180 from last year.
And the downtown real estate market has suffered. Carolina Cadena just moved from New York.
I was living in a 450 square foot apartment in New York City.
And is looking to buy a condo now.
Putting an offer today, here, yeah. Hopefully it gets through. If not, I'll continue looking.
But like many, she's not looking downtown.
People are looking for single-family homes and townhomes. They're moving out of downtown and the condos.
Megan KEMP works with a lot of buyers and has seen this trend.
COVID has had a huge impact on condos in the central business district.
Brokers who specialize in condos say it's a trend in the district, not the condo market as a whole.
But August, year over year from last year, the condo market prices are up 2%. And our sales are up 9%.
That's citywide. Inventory downtown is up about 50% from last year, and currently a number of price reductions.
There's some pretty sweet deals.
It was thriving right before the pandemic created shutdowns, increased homelessness, and people working from home.
We need to bring people back to downtown Denver. We need to show the suburbs that Denver is good.
New developments are still going up. Things will open again.
There's a demand for it. So the fact that that demand has stopped right now, that's what we're looking at. And again, it's just a pause.
And those who sell downtown believe it will come back. Sean Toll, Denver7.